The teachings of the Catholic Church affirm that all of us are equal in the eyes of God, regardless of race, gender, or religion. God does not deprive us of His love if we make a mistake, even if this mistake condemns us in the eyes of the law and leads to imprisonment. This is clearly supported through a phrase in the Bible. In the Gospel of St. Matthew, when Jesus refers to the Last Judgment, saying, "I was in prison, and you visited me." Amen. I say to you, whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me. In poor and undeveloped countries such as Bolivia, those imprisoned are doubly condemned to imprisonment and often inhuman treatment. They not only lack the basic means for a dignified existence, but also an efficient judicial system of which they do not become the victims. Innocent people are often punished, while those who might easily be reintegrated in society are neglected. The work of the Catholic Church in Bolivian prisons is for the most part unexpectedly successful. Many groups, coordinated by the National Society for Prison Missions, exist throughout Bolivia. The Bolivian government built the last maximum security prison in the Diocese of Potosi. Supported by Bishop Walter Pérez, Father Thomas Hermes, together with a group of committed laymen, comprises a true example of Christian charity for those who are suffering one of humanity's worst experiences, the lack of freedom.
Tenía la imagen, a pesar de ser sacerdote.
Despite being a priest, I always thought that they were criminals in society, and that society had to be protected from the ones who had committed crimes or made mistakes. I used to see the situation as most people are used to seeing it. They had to be punished. However, since arriving here, first by means of liturgical celebrations, and then through meeting each of the prisoners, I have become aware that they are human beings with feelings. They express their joy, sorrow, and suffering. They represent a humanity that we have to respect. I have made friends with everyone, and I have not asked, I'm not interested in asking what they did. Sometimes, after some time, once they trust me, they tell me about their past lives. I really feel very sorry because there are so many young people here.
Me da mucha pena que hay tantos jóvenes aquí.
Father Thomas Hermes is a German missionary priest working in Potosi. The Potosí Diocese, covering an area of 118,000 square kilometres, is a region suffering great distress. At the request of the bishop, Father Thomas has undertaken several missions. He is the parish priest of San Benito, a parish of about 100,000 people, and one that has not had a permanent priest for more than 100 years. He is also a professor at the Potosí Seminary and in charge of the Diocesan Prison Mission. Much of the work done by the mission in this diocese relies on the generous support of the international charitable organization Aid to the Church in Need.
We first met Father Thomas Hermes when we visited Potosí, Bolivia. He is a German missionary who has been working for this diocese for many years. We have to admit that not everyone is willing to work in a diocese like this. Although when we at Aid to the Church in Need first met him, there was no intention to work with him. We quickly discovered a true, authentic missionary in him, a man capable of doing what should be done without being complicated, holding ideologies, or getting into trouble. Undoubtedly, the prison mission has always been neglected. Few people are aware of it. Maybe nobody is interested in talking about what happens inside a prison and about the work done to foster human respect and human values. I think Father Thomas's ability to cope with this situation comes from his simplicity, his open-mindedness, and his clear speech when dealing with social problems. No doubt he is a truly gifted man offered by the German Church to Bolivia.
Potosi is one of the 5 highest cities above sea level. Its historical tradition and culture come from silver mining, the Cerro Rico. The village was founded around this natural wonder. Its mines have been exploited for about 450 years. In 1630, Potosi was the biggest city in America. With over 160,000 inhabitants, it had more people than Paris or London. The wealth seemed never-ending, and Spanish conquerors profited greatly from this great abundance. Many historical buildings remain as proof of those times, and the Casa de la Moneda, the Treasury building, is one of America's greatest museums, considered a World Heritage Site. Potosi's Cerro Rico no longer has the amazing veins of precious metals. Most of its inhabitants today are poor miners who earn their living unearthing remnants in an unhealthy environment. These miners work the more than 3,000 mine entrances still in use. Situated 4,200 meters above sea level, the miners have to walk for kilometers to and inside the mountain. In this community, history derives from a mixture of Aboriginal and Spanish cultures. The city boasts an abundant past, though the present is characterized by underdevelopment following an exhaustion of its natural resources. The landscape is equally magical as it is painful, a dark mirror of the country's history. This reality, a lack of education and great poverty, provides the social backdrop and much of the explanation for why so many remain inside Cantumarca prison.
I think it is positive to have the presence of the Catholic Church represented by Father Thomas and his team. Every week they go to the prison to offer their help. They are constantly getting acquainted with the difficulties faced in that place. They are also providing some legal support. There is a lawyer in the team, and she helps those with concerns regarding documentation and legal procedures. There are some who are going to be released soon, and they need her assistance.
Pero lo que preocupa también es un aspecto de injusticia institucionalizada.
But one of the most worrying aspects here is institutionalized injustice. I do not know if this is happening in the whole of Latin America, but here in Bolivia, prisoners are often victims of injustice. Some deserve to be in jail, but not everyone. Some of them, or maybe many of them, are in prison because they do not have the economic means to afford a defense. However, we try to cheer people up, to strengthen them, to give them some hope, especially when they are about to be released and they have to find their place again in society.
Father Thomas and his team of helpers often visit the prison. Dealing with both the authorities and the prisoners is not always easy. At times, access is prohibited or subject to excessive inspections, which are often uncomfortable. But as the desire to help the prisoners deepens, so these obstacles are more easily overcome. Also the result of Father Thomas's persistence and love for his work.
We need the participation of this kind of organisation, not in order to benefit one kind of authority or another, but in order to support the people who live here, that is to say, the prisoners. Because I think we still have people who can be rescued, who can go back into society. But to accomplish this goal, we need to have occupational therapy, and for that we need money.